But what we're going to do right now is we are going to bring up our very first storyteller for the second half. And I will read you just a bit about Suzanne Adams. She has been an active member of this show. She's been an active member of this church, First Parish, as a worship associate, a youth leader in the Coming of Age program, and a facilitator of a creative writing circle. For the past 10 years, she has served as an archivist at Project Save American Photograph Archives Save Armenian Photograph Archives in Watertown. Will you please show a round of love for Suzanne?
Well, you can see I've changed quite a bit. So in 1973, I started my freshman year of high school in a small town in Pennsylvania. And a month or so into the school year, just weeks after Billie Jean King had defeated Bobby Riggs on the tennis court, I was sitting in my third year of mandatory home economics class, and I had just sewed 2 red patch pockets onto the front of a yellow dress. And as soon as I'd done that, I realized I had sewed them on upside down. So before I could correct this mistake, my teacher came over to inspect my work. Now, if she'd been a different teacher, I think she might have made a lighthearted joke about how this might make it difficult to hold on to my pocket money, or perhaps that I was a budding avant-garde fashion designer. But this was not that teacher. This was Miss McSparron, and she brooked no nonsense when it came to dressmaking or anything else. And she instead started to rip apart my garment in front of all my classmates, and she criticized my seam allowances and my basting and my stitch length and whatever else you could say about a dress under construction. And I started to cry at this humiliation, and she said, "I don't want tears, I just want you to show a little pride in your work." And I was very deeply wounded by that, because I was someone who actually took a great deal of pride in my work when it was work that I had chosen to do and when it was work that I cared about. But neither of those was the case. So a little background to this is that, as I said, it was my third year of mandatory home ec. So in 7th and 8th grade, while the boys in our class took industrial arts while the girls were enrolled in home ec, in 9th grade, they were released from that requirement and were free instead to take electives like drama, art, public speaking, all of which I would much rather have taken than home economics. And this seemed quite unjust. And the other thing I'll mention is that as children of divorced parents, both my sister and I had contributed substantially to our household for many years in household tasks like cooking and cleaning and washing dishes and laundry and ironing and taking out the garbage. And my sister even sewed a lot of her own clothes. She was a lot better at sewing than I was. So I really began to stew about this whole situation. And the next day, I was sitting in my study hall looking over my civics homework, and we were studying the First Amendment, and I was very excited about the First Amendment. There was all this great stuff in it, about freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of assembly. And there was this one phrase that caught my eye when I was looking at it, and it went something like this: the right of the citizens to petition for the redress of grievances shall not be abridged. And, there had been a grievance about my dress. So I opened up my spiral notebook, and with my out a petition, and it went something like this. We, the girls of 9th grade, do hereby protest the requirement of a third year of home economics class while the boys in our class are free to take electives. And I'm sure I then went on about how it was unjust in the first place that boys and girls should have different course requirements. And I started to show this to my friends, and many of them, although they never complained before, said, you know, you're right, this really isn't fair at all. And they signed it, and I showed it to more and more girls I didn't know, and a lot of them signed it, and I showed it to some boys in our class, and some of them signed it, saying, yes, you're right, this isn't fair, but others objected because, after all, it said we, the girls. So I showed it to a few teachers who I thought would be sympathetic, and they were, but of course they weren't going to sign this petition. And finally I took it to the assistant principal thinking, you know, maybe he could actually do something about it. But instead he argued the point with me. Oh, I think that youngsters, well, of course, including boys, should learn something about running a household. And I pointed out to him that boys were not required to take this class, and furthermore, it had nothing to do with learning to run a household. Well, by that time, I'd blown off quite a bit of steam, and I'd also gotten caught up in the things that you do in high school, you know, joining clubs, auditioning for a play, doing some homework, and so forth. And I guess I thought, well, I'll get through this year in home ec. And in fact, Miss McSparron, she kind of left me alone after that. I think word had probably gotten around about the petition. And she was a little scared of me, I think. So on the last day of school, I walked out of that home ec room and said to myself, okay, I did it, I'm through, I'm never taking another home ec class as long as I live. And so then it was summer, and then it was fall again, and I came back to school, and one of my teachers from the previous year, pulled me over in the hallway, and she said, oh, Sue, did you hear about home ec class? And I said, oh, no, what? She said, well, the girls don't have to take home economics anymore.